Hi everyone, I'm Dee, the face behind my special life. So this vlog is going to be about when our kids get hurt and pretty much what happens surrounding that. And it's not necessarily just the kid that got hurt, it's the other kids that were there with them, their siblings. So this particular night, we had a pretty stressful night. As everyone knows, my daughter Stephanie has some pretty major special needs, and two of her biggest issues is that she cannot walk and she cannot talk. Aiden, my son, is autistic, among a few other things. So, backtracking a little, everyone ended up being okay. We were all fine. It was just a very not fun night. So, on to the scary as hell part. So, Stephanie, up to this point, had been standing a lot and holding on to things. And this particular night, she decided to stand up while holding on to the back of the couch. And when she sat down, she doesn't just sit, she plops. And she happened to sit right on the edge of the couch. So she just kind of went over she went. On the way down, she bashed her head on our coffee table. And the thing that ticked me off about it is that it had to happen within a day or two of me actually putting the coffee table back to that spot because I thought she could get up and down off the couch by herself. Guess I was wrong. So Aiden was sitting right next to her and he screamed, "Oh my God, she's bleeding." I looked. She wasn't just bleeding, it was freaking gushing. Now, of course, it's a head wound. Even the tiniest scratch will bleed like a stuffed pig. It is not fun. So, Aiden's freaking out, I'm silently freaking out, and Stephanie is big time freaking out and bleeding. I smushed a towel against her head, and the bleeding stopped pretty quickly. Off to the ER we went. This entire time, I was trying to calm Stephanie down while also reassuring Aiden that things would be okay, and this absolutely was not his fault. Stephanie had an x-ray done, just to be sure there wasn't more serious injuries under what we could see. There wasn't, it was just a cut. But the downside was that it was big enough that she needed staples. They weren't going to do stitches because they would have had to knock her out, wrap her up, all that fun stuff. Staples were quicker and a lot less painful. So there I am, helping the nurse pin down my 3-year-old who doesn't understand that we're trying to help her, and also making sure that my son isn't completely panicked because he can hear her screaming bloody murder. When we got home, I had phone calls to make. I called my mom, because I always call my mom for stuff. Then I called Stephanie's dad. We broke up last year, so he's not around, so he needed the update. Now, both kids were sound asleep, and I'm checking on Stephanie every 10 minutes because I'm stressed. And when I go to bed, I brought her with me. She slept with me that night because I was so worried about the staples and everything like that. Now, I had my chance to sit down, think about the evening, and most importantly, breathe. Now, the entire situation happened really, really quick, and shortly after it happened, I felt incredibly guilty because I didn't stop it. Well, looking back, once I had time to breathe and think and all that, I realized that really there wasn't a whole lot that I could have done. Stephanie, it happened so fast that we didn't really have time to react. So, during the entire thing, my focus was on keeping the kids as calm as possible. I had to make sure Stephanie wasn't panicking for long, and I had to make sure that Aiden knew he didn't do anything wrong. He was sitting beside her when she fell. He tried to catch her, but he wasn't fast enough. He was devastated to think that he had failed her in any way. Once Stephanie was asleep, I sat with Aiden. He curled up as small as he could. He's 12 years old and 5 feet 10 inches tall. And he sat on my lap. I told him he was not in trouble. He did not do anything wrong. It is not his fault. I don't know how many times I told him that night that it wasn't his fault. I told him that he is the best big brother, that Stephanie could ever have, and every word is true. He is so protective of her, especially after my ex and I broke up. She'll come out of her room and climb up on the couch just to have a quick snuggle from him. If he forgets to say goodnight to her, she gets pretty mad. She'll actually yell at him. She loves him so much, and he loves her. He takes a tremendous amount of pride in being her brother. I love how close they are. He stood beside her for almost 10 minutes before he went to bed. He told her he loved her and that he's happy she's okay. She was sound asleep and didn't hear him, but it was something he felt he had to do. I have a feeling that I'll wake up to both of them in my bed. It's going to be a mom sandwich. It actually wasn't. He was so exhausted that he went to bed and didn't move the entire night. Now, often we don't realize just how much we do for our kids until we take a step back and realize and think about what's happened. When one kid needs to go to the ER, we're still taking care of the other kid too. We're calming them both down, or all if you have more than two. We're reassuring them that things will be okay. And as a final step, when it's all over and done with, we finally think of ourselves. Once the kids are okay and in bed, we can think about what happened. We can acknowledge what we're feeling, and we can deal with it, whatever way we need to. In my case, I'm going to have a seriously big cup of tea, or 5, I ended up having 3, watch some Pretty Little Liars on Netflix, and cry the tears that I'd been holding back all night, and boy, did they flow. Because it was scary. It was scary. I felt guilty. I was exhausted, both physically and emotionally. So we need to remind ourselves that we are stronger than we think. We can do this. When you take a few minutes to go over all of the things you do on a daily basis, and then everything you do in emergency situations on top of all that, you're going to realize you're pretty badass. So that's that one. It was it was a very emotional night for everybody. And thankfully everyone was okay. Aiden ended up being all right. I didn't send the kids to school the next day because Stephanie had staples in her head. And Aiden was just so drained. There's no way he could have functioned at school. So it spilled over into a couple of days. And thankfully we had the entire weekend to kind of recoup. So that worked out great. But to end my rambling, everyone's okay. It worked out fine. She's got a scar to match Mummy's because Mummy did it when she was 5. So, yeah, that's the end of that one. And hopefully your kids don't do anything as dramatic as that. See you in the next one, everyone.